the world of digital finance, a small group of individuals have tried to warn the world. They've exposed the games, the silence, the puppets, and the billion-dollar setups hidden in plain sight. While others chased hype, they followed the money straight to Ripple, regulation, and the new financial order. This is not speculation. This is the groundwork. This is the blueprint. These are their stories.
Be self-critical. We could have done it ourselves, and we didn't. They beat us to it, or they simply did it better.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of 24 Hours of Crypto. Let's get right into today's episode. Everybody needs to wake up and smell the roses. What's coming, you cannot stop. And JP Morgan verbally told you, many of you guys may have missed this or you guys forgot. There's a lot of stuff that you guys forgot in terms of partnerships that are still ongoing that we cannot talk about every single day because there's just so much to talk about as this industry moves forward. Remember, we have been moving with the industry. We have been moving with the regulators, documenting every single step, and now we are on the cusp of trillions entering this market. Congratulations in advance. However, in today's episode, I'm going to put the icing on the cake. JP Morgan told you that the XRP ledger is going to be utilized once everything is ready, and people are still out there denying it. The information we're going to go over today is going to give you the best picture possible of how XRP and the XRP ledger are going to have a crucial role in the infrastructure that is being built right now amongst every single governmental organization and institution within the entire world. Okay, they're trying to connect the entire economy together within a blockchain ecosystem. And right now, you guys are witnessing the price of XRP, as we documented yesterday, on the leg up. $2.14, ladies and gentlemen, has been hit now, $2.24. Can we come out with volume? Two things. Can we maintain $2.14 for the next 24 hours? And can we also breach through $2.24 with volume? You'll see what I mean by volume. Because if that's the case, then we may be at the point of a reversal, but do not discount the dead cat bounce here. Just a little fake out before another dramatic dump. Okay, I have longs open right now on 2bit. Take advantage of the deposit bonuses. We just got into these. I opened a Solana trade, an Ondo trade, and an XRP trade within the last 14 hours, and those are all up 100%. The XRP trade almost up 200%. But we also opened up another USDC trade, which is up significantly right now, but we just opened that with, again, a leverage that nobody should touch, 125 with $200 margin. But without further ado, listen to the big guys. Listen to the guys that are in the closed door meetings, that are partaking of the creation of this ecosystem. This is tremendous. And where we are today with, CBDCs and stablecoins. I mean, CBDCs is kind of out the picture right now, but where we are today with stablecoins, where Ripple is positioned, and also keep in mind when this was being discussed, Ripple was not mentioned. Okay, Ripple's stablecoin was not mentioned, and also keep in mind, JP Morgan himself admitted that they got, the private sector beat them to it. Never forget that. That's the truth.
With respect to fintechs, now that we see a very different macro environment with money being much more expensive and growth opportunities not as evident as a few years ago, do you still think that fintechs have much to disrupt or innovate in financial services?
There are hundreds, and they've spent tons of money, and they still have tons of money. And I don't like talking about as a group.
Yep.
Some have done a great job, and we should acknowledge that. Some have done a great job. I wouldn't call them a fintech. There's something that a company came up with, which is fintech type services.
Yes.
Some did stuff that we could have done ourselves. And I think a company should be self-critical. We could have done it ourselves, and we didn't. They beat us to it, or they simply did it better. And so we should acknowledge that.
You got to listen to what Mr. Tyrone Lobin says here. You guys are all familiar by him by now. He is currently working at JP Morgan, and he's looking over their Project Onyx. And don't forget, Project Onyx was launched just when Ripple was sued. Okay, we already made a video on that, but this is for the new individuals that may be just watching our episode for the first time ever. But in today's video, we're gonna focus on utility, we're gonna focus on XRP, of course, and it's all about education. You need to understand where the value is gonna come from. Ripple and its digital asset XRP has been catering and pitching to multi-trillion-dollar entities, which are financial institutions. And that is what we're aiming for, right? That is the target. Those are the trillions. And in today's video, you're gonna understand it to the fullest. We're gonna replay some videos that we did in the past. We're gonna tie it all together, and you guys are all gonna sleep really well at night, knowing that XRP will flip Bitcoin 100%. And Tyrone Lobin, he's gonna take over now.
Yeah, and maybe I can just provide a little bit of context in terms of just the traditional financial services market and how we think about the requirements really to be able to operate a safe and sound system. So JP Morgan processes about $10 trillion of payments every day. That's 400 times the global stablecoin daily volume. The global FX market is about $5 trillion. And so when we think about utilizing blockchains as a settlement layer,
let's pause him there for a second. You see how he talks about the settlement layer, and you guys remember the WorldPay patent that is collateralized by JP Morgan. So if they default, this goes to JP Morgan. WorldPay LLC, and they refer to Ripple as the blockchain for settlement. And also in the patent, you guys remember the interledger communication protocol, and then for blockchain for settlements, again, Ripple. And remember what Chris Larson said.
But having the combination of ILP with XRP, we think that's kind of the killer formula.
Interledger protocol, XRP, boom.
We need the infrastructure to actually support these volumes, and we need them to support the scale that the traditional financial services market is at. So right now, clearly, there are a number of reasons, both technological-wise, but also regulatory-wise, as to why we have to use permissioned blockchains. However, you can think about these, globally ever-present, always up, highly redundant public blockchains as a really, really attractive settlement layer that can, service this global market. Ever-present, always up, highly redundant public blockchains as a really, really attractive settlement layer that can, service this global market. However, until we actually solve some of the key challenges, specifically around privacy, specifically around things like AML, KYC, it does become difficult for us to fully step into that environment. We did a project last year with the Monetary Authority of Singapore where we demonstrated what it would actually look like for a regulated institution like ourselves to utilize public DeFi protocols, to utilize public blockchains. And very clearly there were lots of very insightful learnings for us. The transparency that you get around DeFi pools, for example, the ability to have anytime price discovery through a DeFi protocol, very, very important and interesting. Also the lower cost. But as I said, until we actually have some clarity around the ability to actually operate on this infrastructure from a reg perspective, we're going to have to be in the sort of permission view until we can take some of the hybrid steps. And those hybrid steps look like some of the existing infrastructure that is coming out right now around subnets or permission zones or these kinds of things. And from our perspective, the reason why we operate an EVM sidechain is so that everything that we build can actually be portable into a public environment. So all of our contracts are written in Solidity. We use ERC20s for the most part for our tokens. All of our developer tooling is, utilizes the public Ethereum ecosystem's tooling set. So actually moving into the public blockchain environment when we can will be much of a sort of a lift and drop scenario.
Public ledgers provide guaranteed fairness, and they're interoperable without controllers. So what that means is if the Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank issue onto, let's say, the same public ledger, like the XRP ledger, there's guaranteed fairness on the ledger side. The ledger isn't going to favor one or the other. Everybody knows what rules they're going to get. And it's not the case that everybody who wants to use the public ledger has to trust every issuer. You have to trust the issuers whose assets you hold and deal with, but the system itself has that guaranteed fairness. A hybrid public ledger approach is scalable and provides low risk. The two types of risk that it best minimizes are overnight risk. You imagine if you used a more traditional system, you might have a whole bunch of payments that settle on Friday, and you can't actually make the payment to ultimately settle between the financial institutions until Monday. If you go back to a public ledger and settle with a stablecoin or CBDC, you avoid that overnight risk. And you can also avoid the sort of cascading default. Public ledgers have limited throughput. You can't dump 1,000 transactions per second to any blockchain, and even if you could, nobody else could. There's no system that's going to scale better than that. And this is kind of a fundamental problem. It's not a technological problem. The problem with public ledgers is every transaction imposes some cost on everyone who uses the system. So you can't monopolize the system and dump hundreds of your own transactions per second to it. It just doesn't work.
And it's remarkable with his numbers, $5 trillion in FX, which is wrong. It's over about $8 trillion now in FX markets. But remember the whole indirect partnerships and usage with Ripple. It could be directly or indirectly. And once we introduce this new system to the world, it's going to change everything. And we have been saying this on this channel. And just listen to what Ray Dalio and what they said in the Interledger Summit back in 2022. Some of you guys may have seen this, but it is very important for you to engrave this to your mind. We need to prepare for what's to come. It is hard to sit here and, take all this in. We have never seen technology like this be implemented into the financial infrastructure. So we need to listen to what these billionaires are saying, what they're projecting the next years are.
I have to pay attention to the implications of the great disruptions that are going to take place, because the world will be radically different in 5 years, and it's going to go year by year, become radically different. Next elections, the debt situation, all of these things are going to change. And then with the new technologies, it's like going through a time warp. We're going to be in a different world, okay?
These systems, if they're implemented properly, will result in a new world.
Like going through a time warp. We're going to be in a different world, okay?
A world in which things will be different for everybody, different for banks, different for mobile money companies, different for people.
And that video that we watched earlier only has 479 views. Like I said, we're going through an education phase where, unfortunately, we're in an era where individuals' attention spans are very, very low. So they can't come out here and watch my 12-minute clips or sometimes 17-minute clips. It's hard for some individuals to really understand this stuff. They find it boring. So that is why, you guys are truly blessed to be in this ecosystem, and I'm truly blessed to have individuals within this ecosystem that are like-minded, and we could share our thoughts and our knowledge and our journey going into this new era of finance. People are going to miss out on this. I don't care if I sound like a broken record. We need to all, every single day, come together, because we are the movement. We are the pioneers. We are creating this movement, right? It's you telling your family and spreading the word. And like I said, you guys are living rent-free in their heads for the rest of their lives. It's remarkable.
Apollo, JP Morgan, and WisdomTree provided traditional and alternative assets to be tokenized. And in order to set up this fragmented environment, we had Onyx and Oasis Pro tokenize these assets on 3 different permissioned blockchain environments. We had a permissioned zone of the Provenance blockchain, the Onyx Digital Assets platform, and a permissioned Avalanche subnet. And to provide connectivity between all of these different platforms, we implemented not just one, but 2 interoperability solutions, Axelar and Layer 0. And to provide connectivity between all of these different platforms, we implemented not just one, but 2 interoperability solutions, Axelar and Layer 0.
Assets, though, is they always follow a hockey stick curve.
But we had the stars in mind. While they chased hype, we studied time. In the noise we found the signal. Brad knew just what to do. Now XRP hums like jazz, running smooth and true. Money's changing, systems bend. Ripple flow into the end. Truth is quiet, bold and deep. We salute the ones who lose no sleep. Salute the minds that built this chain. Salute, salute. Through the trials, through the pain. Salute, salute. To the calm, to the wise. Salute, 100 in our eyes. Bitcoin maxis yell on stage, stuck in loops they call belief, while XRPL just clears the way. No delay, no grief. They hoard coins like dusty gold, but we got utility in every fold. The future ain't loud, it's steady breathing. Real ones know what's worth believing. It ain't hype, it's code and soul. We salute the ones who see the whole. Salute to the builders, to the flow. Salute, salute, where the real ones choose to go. Salute, salute, to the heart, to the plan. Salute, XRP will lead the land. Value don't lie, and truth don't shake. Let the whole world break, we remake. Strategic reserve, written in stars. XRP gonna take us far. So here's to the signal, clear and bright. To the dreamers who held on tight. No matter the storm, no matter the fight. Salute, we rise with the light.
As long as a specific asset class actually starts moving on-chain wholesale and you get true hockey stick adoption.
We started building RippleNet with the thesis that crypto liquidity would eventually be able to support robust global payments, large payments. RippleNet was designed so that customers seeing the benefits of our fiat-based network could flip the switch to ODL once the market was mature enough. And this is exactly what's happening.
Flip the switch.
I think what we're building has, it's solving a real problem. And I think all of the tokens, my advice to anybody would be, understand the utility. If there's real utility and there's real value being delivered to a real customer, there will be value in the token.